those clauses.
Mr Chair.
Stuart Nash.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, we've heard from a number of speakers how long this piece of legislation has taken to come before the House, the importance of it, and how hopefully what it will do is encourage victims of sexual violence, and we're predominantly talking about women here, to come forward. And the fact that it has taken such a long time, Mr Speaker, I wonder why it's not coming into force until the 1st of July 2017. Initially, Mr Chair, it was, the commencement was stock standard with most pieces of legislation that pass through the House, which is into force on the 28th day after the date in which it receives the royal assent. For some reason, that's actually been pushed out to July 2017. Now, I'm making an assumption here, of course. The assumption is that the third reading of this bill will be before the 1st of June 2017, because if it didn't, then there'd be no point in changing it. But for some reason, it has been pushed out, and I would suggest at least by 8 or 9 months. I'm expecting the third reading of this bill will come before the House in the next month or two. But why, if it is such an important bill, if we recognise its importance, if we understand that this is actually going to provide a mechanism for those who have been victims of sexual abuse to actually have permission sought, to have evidence heard against their sexual history, all these things that we've wanted, all these things that Jan Logie has spoken very passionately about. In fact, a number of members have spoken very passionately about. Why are we then delaying it another 6 or 8 months? Is it because perhaps the judiciary need time to get their heads around it, or is it in fact the legal fraternity may need a series of briefings before the legislation is enacted? I'm not too sure. Because it has been around the traps for a long time, because it has been debated and commented on by the Law Commission, the New Zealand Law Society and a number of eminent bodies have actually submitted on this. So, well, the Minister might know, but the thing is that it's not as if this is a surprise piece of legislation to the legal fraternity in any way, shape or form. In fact, I would argue quite the opposite. I would argue that they have had, there comes the answer now. I would argue that perhaps this has been around for long enough for the legal fraternity to actually have a very good handle on it at this point in time. But for some reason, and I'm not saying there's not a very good reason, there may well be an excellent reason why it has been deferred by around about 6 or 8 months. But I think the Minister perhaps does know. So perhaps on behalf of those who are looking for an early enactment date, the Minister may be able to enlighten us why it is July 2017 and not perhaps the 1st of November 2016. Thank you.
Members, the question is that clause